Francois, one of the things I wanted to talk about from your talk was it struck me that you're wanting to sort of change the nature of conversation between machines, people are using the machines, and other companies that might be interested in the machines, and sort of opening the conversation, not just keeping it between machine to machine. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot of stuff that got built in the last years that around data mining, big data. There's a new term now that's called data scientists. There's a lot of resource available out there that where industrial environment can benefit from. So there's a bunch of people out there that can process data for us, that can make it talk, build algorithms or good key performance indicators. And that's the goal now. It's like if I produce a machine, or if I'm actually a user of these machines and I'm producing, let's say, hardwood floor, for example, well, I want to put all my energy in optimizing my production line. I want to be a subject matter expert in producing, let's say, hardwood floor. I don't want to have a resource that's going to manage servers, that's going to manage security, that's going to manage data analytics, because that's not my core business. So that's why a lot of people made this part their core business, and they're there actually to offer services which actually lower the capital because you don't have to put all the infrastructure in place. So the Internet of Things has been around for years and years. Like there's a lot of corporations that were doing system where they were logging data from their production line, and they were building dashboards, reports, alerts. Now the difference is these data storage, these services are now outside the production floor, outside the plant, and they are offered as complementary service by a very specialized company. So it's not because the data is going out of the plant that it becomes public. It's still your data. It's still secured somewhere. It's just that you put somebody know-how on top of it.
So that requires sensors. So some machines have sensors already in them for vibration or optical or other kinds of sensors, but older machines, I guess, need some new kinds of sensors for Internet of Things. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Of course. So there's sensors are used on automated machine to actually run the process, or sometimes to generate just some alerts and monitor. But a machine that doesn't have anything, there's some very easy way to add piece of a sensor that's going to count the product in, the product out, or the cycles, or when the machine is being used, so you can easily know how much product that got processed, or what is the uptime, the downtime, the production speed, these kind of thing. Could be done with a single sensor that just monitor how fast the product goes in and goes out, or it could be based on the electrical consumption of a piece of equipment. So it's quite simple to actually add some sensors. When you just think a bit about the process first, you find the right way or the right matrix, and then you find the right sensors. And where actually IoT comes in is there's a lot of module now available in the market where you can connect these sensors to it, and then automatically the data is going to be securely transferred to a data repository somewhere, and that's where you're going to start having some algorithms. So grabbing the data and pushing it, that's where actually there's a big growth. A lot of people are producing these kind of gateways or these kind of system to connect to sensors, and then once the data is available, then there's added value services on top of it.
Now you also talked about the analysis of the data, and you were talking about you don't need to have sort of data specialists within your organization, that you can use a tool like IBM's Watson or other tools, Microsoft Azure, to be able to do that kind of data mining and bring back intelligence, right?
Yeah. So of course, you don't want to have like a PhD software developer on your payroll just to make the data talk. You will burn all the return on investment right there. So usually what you're going to try to find is there's services out there, like people specializing into predictive maintenance, for example, or for some production dashboards, and they can actually build algorithms, and they can actually learn from one industry and apply it to another industry also. So that's where there's some benefits actually there, because you don't need to pay for everything, because these companies learn as they go and as they do contract, and then you benefit from from what they have to offer. And also the big data that you see for Amazon, for Google, who analyze like what you're looking for, like the Google ad thing, or just stock market analysis. All the techniques being developed in there are actually usable into an industrial environment also, because you're learning a process, you're learning patterns, and that's where actually there's a lot of reusable stuff coming on the market.
So let's finally just talk about cybersecurity, because now you're talking about taking that conversation away from just being machine to machine within a shop, but now going wireless, possibly talking to other manufacturers or the manufacturer of the equipment. So how do you keep the data safe so nobody's doing a Stuxnet of sort of speeding up your centrifuges or your CNC machine starts cutting insults into the wood or whatever?
Correct. So the safest way is if you start adding parallel sensors that go strictly to input module, then you don't have any control on the machine. That's by far the simplest and safest way actually of not losing control on your piece of equipment, but it's not necessarily the most efficient. When your machine has thousands of data points to offer, you want to grab them straight from the controller. So there's a bunch of different techniques. From when you grab the data, there's a way to actually have interface that can only perform read-only. You want to put also firewalls in there that is going to make the difference between the business network and the process control network, that will allow a very specific computer to talk with a very specific controller. So there's a way to limit the impact. There's also very deep security technology that analyze traffic and all that, but at this point we may be getting into a very major industry that use this. And then once you got your data, if you want to export it outside, obviously you're going to start talking certificates and HTTPS web service transaction, the same way you go on your bank, actually has some certificates and the data get encrypted. And then once it's stored, you want to make sure that if you use off-site services, you want to make sure that your data is stored securely, so your competitor doesn't have access to it, or anybody who might use it against you have access to it. So that's part, at this point, of finding the right provider also.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.